Allah, Hagol, Sivika.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to Torah Between Us
It's Allison,
and Kevin.
and we are done with the music in the background.
Are we? I'm kind of into it.
We can keep it going.
Before every podcast, we actually sing and do a little tish, and then we get into the podcast.
Maybe we'll start that next week.
It's true.
Didn't actually do that this week. But we did Tish on Wednesday night.
Tish or Kumsitz? What's it?
Oh, that's there was no table. Well, you had a table. The women didn't have a table.
I did table?
Yeah, Tish is a table.
Hey, but I didn't have any table to tish at.
Of course you did. There was a Chassan's Tish.
There was a Chassan's tish.
Yeah, there was no Kala's Tish.
There was no Kalas tish. But there was a Kumsitz at the end.
There was a Chassan's Tish and a Kumsitz at...
My brother's wedding.
Yeah, so we're in Yerushalayim. Andrew, Kevin's brother, got married on Wednesday night. 999.
Ay, ay.
And the Heilige Eitan Cat was there. So after all the dancing, then we brought everyone together, and there was a kumsitz at the end of the wedding, which was super cool. I've never been to a wedding kumsitz before.
Yeah, and Kumsitz is it's one of those words that sounds like it is. It's Kumsitz. It's come sit, come sit, Kumsitz.
So what's the language of origin?
I don't know. The language of origin is probably Yiddish.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but so it's just funny that there's a word kumsitz and then there's a word tish. Maybe we really should make the distinction.
Yeah, Tish has a table.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on Wikipedia, it says songs to sing at a Kumsitz, as well as songs by the more recent Jewish singing groups such as Dveikus and Zusha. If the Kumsitz takes place on Shabbat, songs with the Shabbos theme can be sung.
They can be.
Citation needed.
I bet you someone from like Zusha's PR team went into this Wikipedia page and started changing things.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, this is pretty funny.
Well, it is Parsha Vayechi,
Yeah, and one classic Kumsitz song is Hamalach HaGoel,
which you just listened to.
which is from this week's Parsha. And it's Hamalach HaGoel Oti Mikol Ra, Yivarech et HaNe'arim. That the angel that has protected me from all sorts of harm, or who literally has redeemed me, I guess, from harm, HaGoel Oti Mikol Ra, Yivarech et HaNe'arim, should bless the lads, the children. I guess lads is a good translation, because they're not like quite young, like a na'ar is a young lad.
Mm-hmm.
V'yikar behem shemi, and in them my name shall be recalled, v'shem avotai, and the names of my fathers, Abraham v'Yitzchak, Abraham and Isaac, v'yidgu larov b'karev ha'aretz, and may they be teeming multitudes upon the earth.
So just for context, if you read that, you're like, wait, so why do Abraham and Isaac get a shout out and Yaakov doesn't? This is Yaakov saying this, so it'd be pretty weird to refer to himself as a forefather.
I don't know, sometimes people are like, I hope my child grows up to be just like me.
Who said that? Everybody says, I hope my child grows up to be even better than me.
Ideally.
Oh.
Ideally, but some people are like, yeah, no, you're right. But he's giving us to his grandkids.
Are you davening that Eden's just like you?
No. She'll be better than me. She also should be different than me. She's a combination.
Mm-hmm.
Torah between us. Torah shouldn't be just like me and just like you. It should be in the middle.
But elevated.
It comes.
So think of it as a triangle, and she's the top point.
Yeah. Hopefully our little Eden learns the triangle shape soon. She still gets confused in those little like
shape sorters,
just mashing them in and trying to force the triangle into a round hole. So she'll be what she'll be.
But at the same time, if there's anyone who could do it, it's Eden.
Yeah. Eden.
Yeah, that's a really proud parent.
100%. Yaakov also is a proud parent in many ways. He gives all of his children blessings. Some of the blessings, though, they're a little bit like backhanded compliments, like to Shimon and Levi. You guys have a lot of spirit, you know? You're a little rambunctious, which you could direct in different ways. But we do see finally at the end of Breshit, which is this book all about choosing and
Preference.
and difficulty between brothers, that there is some sense of equanimity and feeling equal between the brothers, or at least happy for each other. And really that's emphasized through Ephraim and Menashe,
How so?
because Yaakov tells Yosef to bring Yosef's children so that they could be blessed, and his two children are Ephraim and Menashe. And Menashe is the older one, and Ephraim is the younger one, and that's the order that Yosef places them. But Yaakov intentionally crosses his hands. It says, Si kel et yadav, that he crossed his hands, blessing the younger one, Ephraim, with his dominant hand, with his right hand, and Ephraim, the older one, with his left hand, his less dominant hand, and they're accepting of it, Ephraim and Menashe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons that when boys are blessed by their parents, we say that that God should make you like Ephraim and Menashe. And then we bless them. And there's an additional idea about why it's Ephraim and Menashe, is because they were outside the land of Israel, and they were able to keep their Jewish identity in some way. And we want our children to be able to, whatever hardships that they experience, to keep and remain strong with their Jewish identity.
I thought that Reuven, Gad, and Chatzi Menashe were outside of the land of Israel.
Right. So Reuven, Gad, and half of the tribe of Menashe, when the Jewish people returned to the land of Israel, they were outside of the boundaries of Israel, but they themselves grew up in Israel, and then their children.
Right. They said, hey, that area looks real nice for our sheep. Can we go there?
Right.
And they were allowed as long as they fight.
Exactly. So eventually those tribes did, but Ephraim and Menashe were born in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the first one. And Avraham was born outside of the land of Israel, but he's Avraham.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like the first Jewish children to be born and raised outside of Israel, are Ephraim and Menashe.
Gotcha.
And there's actually a really interesting thing that I read from Dr. Michal Biton. She was saying how...
And you all know who that is, by the way. If you saw a viral clip, either from Washington Square Park, a very passionate woman talking about, all the tragedies going on and anti-Semitism, or if you were at Washington or saw the rally, she again spoke there too.
So she was saying that she studies particularly North African Jews and societally how they integrate in America and different things, and that you could read the story of Yosef as Yosef purely giving to the brothers, that they come down to Egypt, he gives them food and water and housing for them. So they're very much the recipients. But Yosef, you could also see as the recipient of the brothers, because the brothers are bringing their cultural affiliation with the land of Israel to Yosef. In the sense that if you, move to America, let's say from Mexico, and then 3 or 4 generations go by, then you might lose a little bit of your Mexican heritage. But if there's new Mexican immigrants, then they'll strengthen that 3rd, 4th generation's Mexican identity, because they're like, oh, here are people from my homeland.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably have a similar phenomenon with Yosef. If Yosef was totally cut off from the brothers and just lived in Egypt, probably over time he might have lost his Jewish identity or would have been watered down. But reuniting with the brothers is able to continue that Jewish identity and continuity even in Israel. I think it's just something that I've been thinking about, is just seeing Eden, who we try to raise in an Israeli way, but having her be here and connect to Israel and say pita and say, we read 3 falafels in our pita, as we referenced in last episode and have her eat some hummus and just walk around and get her little mitzvah walking in Israel.
She learned the word todah.
She did learn the word todah. She says todah.
It's funny because I feel like anything that we do, everything that we do that like makes her a little Israeli baby is discredited by the fact that sometimes we use a baby leash.
Baby leashes aren't Israeli?
Yeah, I feel like, so yeah, they're not Israeli. We get tons of laps. Eden likes to wander sometimes, as she should, and she should have the freedom to go wherever she wants to go, not just exactly near her hands or have to reprimand her. So we were encouraged to get a little baby leash. So we call it the bracelet. So
She calls it bracelet.
She calls it the bracelet. She gets very excited. She asks for the bracelet. So we put it on her wrist, and we hold the other end, which is like a long string, like a cord that's like stretchy, and we walk around with it. And it keeps her safe. And it keeps us calm.
Yeah,
But it's definitely not Israeli. So I almost feel like we can't say that we raise her in an Israeli way just because we use that leash.
it's a thing to do in a metropolitan area. When you're in a city, like, you want on a little bit of a leash. But when Eden and I were walking to the Kotel, we'd be like, scan your bag and look through your stuff. And they had the leash, and they're like, Maza, what's
Really?
this? Yeah. I was like, oh, it's for my daughter. And they're like, well, you handcuff her? What are you doing? I'm like, no, it's just to walk. And then I put it on her, and we were walking. And like some two kids like were walking by me, and they're like, your baby is not a dog. What are you doing? And I'm like, I know, just so that she can walk around. It's like, it's an interesting metaphor. It's like by having a fence, you're less nervous about someone falling off a cliff. Like we have a little balcony here, and where we're staying, and Eden could walk around the balcony. If we didn't have the fence around the balcony,
That door would be locked tight.
the door would be locked tight.
Triple lock.
So by having a flexible boundary, it actually allows more freedom rather than less freedom.
Ah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that this thing called halacha, which can be seen as very serious boundaries, right? Serious fences all over the place, can actually provide freedom and flexibility.
I think so. It's definitely very in line with the whole like atomic habits and like having a routine and discipline, that those actually free you or enable you to live out what you want by creating structure rather than allowing your mind or your actions to just wander whatever. And it's helpful for you fulfilling, I think, more of the things that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you kind of figure out ways to fulfill what you want to do even without structure.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, but also not. I mean, I think it's a question of like will versus productivity versus like what needs to get done.
And I think also for us, just like this podcast, sometimes not in the mood, not as energized as other weeks, or don't have as many things that we're thinking about, but like just having a structure, having a space gives you the ability to like fill it and like talk Torah, which is, I think, something that we want to do even more of in our lives.
Yeah, but to be fair, we did one a couple of days ago.
But that structure forced us to then do a makeup one.
Mm-hmm. So next week we promise will be better.
I don't know, we're flying back to America, so the first week of the year.
Well, it's also going to be the first week that you are going to be unemployed.
This is true. This is something that I've also been thinking about, that ending my current job on January 1st, and like how do I create structure to be productive? Like work provides some structure to fill your time in partially intentional, partially unintentional way, and to bring that structure in. Yeah. We also see with Yosef that like when the brothers come down, he sets up an area for them in Goshen. Like he has something that's built for them to be able to live and to like flourish. Yeah. I don't know. For me, I think a lot about like structures and systems, because
Engineering background.
yeah, engineering background, but also just don't have as much of like that intuition. I don't know if it's like a disconnection from my desires or what needs to be done, or it's a lack of like figuring out how to get to the goals without having it, the roadmap there. But that might be some product management roadmap talk.
Definitely is. So real quick, highlights from the trip so far.
One real highlight for me was me and my uncle visited two things the morning of the wedding. On Wednesday, that there was a group of 28 women who were widowed, and
Pregnant women
who were widowed during this current war, and bringing Eden to them and having them smile and see a baby, and like it was kind of like a little glimmer of hope for them that like they're gonna have this new, hopefully cute little baby like Eden.
Was that then on good behavior?
She was on pretty good behavior, and she was saying hi.
Imagine if she was tantruming, and then they're all like,
"How am I gonna deal with this?" Yeah. And then also, and I also brought Eden to visit some wounded soldiers. And she smiled with this group that was giving soldiers like AirPods and other stuff to make their stay a little easier. And she was handing it to them, and it was really cute, and singing and clapping and just like bringing a little bit of joy to people who have had some hard situations. That's been a highlight. What about for you?
so many highlights. So many highlights. The best family activity that we've ever done.
Oh.
And this is not spiritual. And I mean,
Spiritual.
maybe it is spiritual. Maybe it is. There's definitely something spiritual about it. But there's this thing called Pitmasters in Cinema City where it's like a 7-course meal with tons of meat. And they like, it's kind of like an interactive game where like the chefs like show you and prepare the meat and the food like live. And like there's TV screens and music blasting and everyone's like partying and having a great time. And it was just such a fun culinary and social experience. Would highly recommend. It was just like a big dance party with your whole family.
Yeah,
And
delicious food and like good music. So,
yeah, it was just a great time. And I'm like, yes, like this is how family events should be. Like such a fun, like there's a thing to do, but also you can talk, also you can dance, also you can sing, also you can eat. Like,
and we met other people. There were other families and groups of friends.
and it was the night before the wedding, so we were all just really hyped about celebrating.
Yeah,
So it was just like a big high.
yeah, and
And so much meat. So much meat.
too much.
Too much meat. Look it up.
Yeah.
Literally before you walk in, there's just like huge, it looks like a butcher shop in like the window of the place. Like it's like,
But like a butcher shop from like, I don't know, to like 1900s,
Yeah.
where there's like cows around and
like
stuff.
hanging from the ceiling. And this was like their display before you enter.
Yeah,
So I was like, what are we walking into? And then it was just such a surprise, which I also like. I love surprises.
yeah.
So Den's waking up from a nap. So I'm going to run and Kevin's going to bless everyone.
So the blessing of Hamalach Hagoloti, that we should be redeemed by that angel that has continued to bless us, B'Karav Haaretz, in the land of Israel, amidst the land, and hopefully we continue to multiply good memories, good experiences that are in line with the values and the aspirations of our forefathers, Avram and Yitzchak, and our mothers, Sarah and Rivka, and that we can continue to grow and blossom the B'Karav Haaretz.